friends, welcome. I am so excited about this video. Today we are going to be talking all about freshly milled flour. If you found us because of this video, welcome. And if you are an old friend, we are so glad to have you back. If you've been here for a while, you know that we have been really trying to transition into more healthy eating habits. And the big health push we've been making over the past few months is changing all of our flours and grains and pushing towards freshly milled flour. This was not an easy sell for me. I like my flour. I like poofy baked goods, but you know what? The more I learned, and actually the more that I started doing it myself, the more I really enjoyed it. And y'all, I had no idea. When you buy whole wheat things at the store and they taste like you're eating sawdust, that is not your freshly baked goods. When you are grinding this yourself and you are producing this, there is an amazing difference in the taste, in the texture too. So I think you're gonna be pleasantly surprised. So today we're gonna talk about the whys, we're gonna talk about the hows, we're gonna talk about the different types of grains and what you use them for, because all that information coming at you can be really, really overwhelming. So hopefully I can simplify that for you if you are interested in getting into whole grains, and this will be a really great informative video for you. If you have anything that you've been really wanting to learn how to make with whole grains, or you have a question, leave it down in the comments. And if I don't have the answer, I will find the answer out for you. Like I said, we're fairly new to whole grains. We've been doing it for several months now, but I have absolutely loved it. And my kids have actually loved it too. So win-win. We're on board. So I guess the first thing we need to talk about is the why. Why would I even go through this effort? Because I'm not gonna lie, it is more effort than going to the store and buying that, I was gonna say 97 cents loaf of bread, but now it's probably several dollars loaf of bread. And there are tons of health benefits. And actually, it's the health benefits and learning about the health benefits that really pushed me over the edge, because I have some health struggles, and this has actually helped a lot. Our wheat is made up of basically 3 different parts. Well, 4 if you count the chaff, but the chaff blows away and it gets done away with. But these berries, the wheat berries, which is the actual wheat part of the wheat, is made up of 3 parts. It's made up of the bran, the germ, and the endosperm. When wheat gets processed commercially, the bran and the germ are not shelf stable because they have certain oils and things in them. So the easiest thing for producers to do is to strip them away and leave you with just the endosperm. And the endosperm is what contains the food for the plant. And it's got proteins and starches in it, but that's all it has in it. So when they strip away the bran and the germ, to make this shelf stable, they're really stripping away all of the vitamin content of your bread. And so what used to be initially something extremely healthy for you, bread, now has become nothing but empty calories. And even quote unquote whole wheat flour that you find on your shelf, it's the same thing. They've stripped those things out. They might have added a little bit back in, but it is nothing compared to the nutrient density of this. And this really wasn't a problem until about the 1920s, because people would have their grains ground by the local mills in town and bring it home. And it didn't have to be shelf stable for months on end like it does now in our food system. So it's a double-edged sword. Shelf stable is great, however, it comes with a cost. Now, if you want shelf stable, it doesn't get much more shelf stable than wheat berries though. These things will last indefinitely, 20, 30 years. It's only when the grains become milled that the timer starts ticking and they start losing nutrient value. So what nutrients are we missing? Well, for starters, tons of fiber. There's tons of fiber in these, and that's kind of the obvious one. And fiber really does a lot for our gut health and kind of pushing things through. It helps with weight loss. It helps with all sorts of things. The other thing that's huge in freshly milled flour is phytic acid. And phytic acid, one of the things that they found that it does that's really neat is it binds with toxins and heavy metals in your body and pushes them out, which is amazing. And when I'm talking about this, I want to make it clear, I am not a medical professional. I am not trying to give you health advice. I'm not trying to give you medical advice. I'm only just explaining what I've researched and what I've experienced. So, freshly milled flour is one of the highest sources of vitamin E that you can possibly have. And vitamin E does a ton of amazing things. It fights against viruses, it helps your skin, it fights blood clots. Like, just do some research on all the benefits of vitamin E. And if you want a really rich source of vitamin E, it does not get much better than freshly milled flour. And the list goes on. There's vitamin B, it's a huge source of iron, magnesium. If you suffer from migraines, which I do, magnesium is one of the things that can help level those off. So I was really excited to be able to find a good natural source of magnesium so I don't have to take magnesium supplements. Because one of the things you'll learn if you really research supplements is some supplements are great, however, your body doesn't absorb them as well as if you get them in the natural form. So it's always better, if you can, to find those vitamins in their natural form, which for us here, that's the bread. In fact, scientists have broken it down, and our body needs about 44 nutrients to stay alive and function. 40 of those nutrients are found in freshly milled flour. And we are absolutely destroying it in the stores because we are not keeping those nutrients in. We're throwing them out, and a lot of times they'll become animal feed or something else. So we're taking the empty calories, we're feeding them to ourselves, and we're taking the nutrient density and we're feeding it to the animals. I have really become passionate about grinding my own flour, and we've had a lot of success. And some of the things that I've noticed since we've done it, or it's helped balance some of my hormones. It has really helped keep us regular. I have issues with eczema, and this has actually helped my eczema. It hasn't cleared it up completely yet. Hopefully, maybe someday it will. But it really has helped lessen the effects of that eczema. Usually in winter, it's off the charts painful, and this winter it's been a lot better. So I've really been excited about that. Just a whole lot of benefits. And being able to have bread again. Another thing is freshly milled bread is a lot lower on the glycemic index than regular bread. And so I say regular bread, this should be regular bread. Like, this was the original bread, but you know what I mean. So it is a lot more level for your blood sugar, which means it doesn't cause those spikes. It doesn't cause that sudden weight gain, the bloating, some of those things that come with eating bread all the time. So bread turns from being like the enemy to, you know what? I can actually have some of this in moderation, and it's good for me, and it's healthy for me, and it helps me get my daily vitamins in. So I would encourage you to do your research. A really excellent book is this Essential Homegrown Flour book by Sue Becker, and she really goes into depth on a lot of the different history behind it. She goes into depth on the different types of wheat, all the things, and she's got tons and tons of amazing recipes. This is a really invaluable book if you are wanting to get started in milling your own flour. One of the things that was really incredibly overwhelming to me when I started this journey and decided, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna mill my own flour, let's go, was there's 874,000 different types of wheat berries. I don't even know where to begin. And B, where do I even get them? And all these things kind of add up, and they seem overwhelming. So I want to break some of that down. First of all, let's talk about the different types of wheat berries. So if you have to pick one type of wheat berry, it's probably going to be hard white wheat. That is good all-purpose wheat berry. This one is going to produce like a nice fluffy daily bread or a sandwich bread. It has the most structure, And this is just a well-rounded type of wheat berry, and it tastes good. Another type of wheat berry that can be used interchangeably almost with the hard white wheat is called einkorn. Now this is like an ancient grain version of the hard white wheat. It has a really robust flavor. I love the flavor of einkorn. It doesn't quite have the rise of hard white wheat though. So sometimes your loaves, if you're making them with hard white wheat, are going to be a little poofier than your einkorn loaves. The einkorn loaves aren't super dense at all, but they just are not quite as poofy. This sourdough loaf, I love to make einkorn sourdough. And in the coming weeks, all of these things that you see here, we're going to be putting out videos walking you through step by step how to make each of these things with your freshly milled flour. So if you get nothing else, get your hard white wheat. Einkorn is a substitution. Einkorn is more expensive. So if you're just starting out, I really do recommend the hard white wheat. It's easier just to kind of start and get your feet wet. And then if you want something different, you can add in some einkorn. Number 2 on the list, if you have 2, number 1 is hard white wheat. Number 2 would probably be soft white wheat. The soft white wheat is what you're going to make cookies or cakes or things like that. These are my chocolate chip cookies. They're delicious. So a soft white wheat is just what it sounds like. It's a little softer, so it's not going to be as dense, but it does not rise like that hard white wheat. It doesn't have that structure of some of the harder wheats. But this is what you'll want if you're making anything that's dessertish, right? The pancakes, the even rolls, dinner rolls you can make with the soft white wheat if you want the really billowy rolls. This is what you would use. The other one that I really love to use is spelt. And this is another what they call ancient grain, like the einkorn, and that just means that they find those strains back older than any of these others. I love to use spelt to make muffins or like banana bread or things, and it's kind of an in-between. Like it doesn't have the same level of structure as your hard white wheat, but it's not as super duper soft as your soft white wheat. So, but it has a really excellent flavor. So I love, love, love to make muffins with it. It's wonderful. But again, if you have to start with one, start with hard white wheat. If you have the chance to start with 2, add in soft white wheat, and then you can start experimenting with some of the different ones. And this is not all of the wheats by a long stretch. There are a ton of different kinds of wheats, but I would start slowly, get one, work with it, learn it, and then once you learn the one, you can add another, because it can get really overwhelming really fast, because not only do you have to learn all of them and learn how they function differently, but you have to figure out how to store them. And that is huge because you buy them in like big 25 or 50 pound bags. So storing them can be overwhelming, and we'll talk about storage in just a minute. The other thing that I like to grind is corn. You can actually put corn in your mill and you can make cornmeal. See, I have this fresh loaf of cornbread that I have made with my cornmeal. You can also do rice in here. And actually that's how I clean my mill, is by putting some rice through it. That's the recommended way to clean the millstones. But if you're a sourdough baker and you dust the banneton with rice flour or things like that, see the rice flour on here, you can mill in your mill. So that's just the basic rundown of a few of the standard types of wheat berries. There are several places to get your wheat berries. My favorite place to get them is Azure Standard, and I will put a link down below to Azure Standard. One of the reasons I really love Azure Standard is the price, because to get a huge bag of wheat berries is really an excellent deal on Azure Standard. The bigger the bag, the better the deal. The other reason is the quality. They have phenomenal quality. And the third reason is they are really, really serious about sourcing healthy varieties and food and things that have not been sprayed with poison and things that are going to be healthy for you and your family. One of the most encouraging things to me was to watch the owner of Azure Standard did some interviews where he was talking about how he selects the food that he's going to sell on his site. And it was huge. The thing he kept coming back over and over again to was he wants to be able to offer the healthiest choice for his customers. And some of the standards he sets are insanely high. And I'm okay with that. It gives me confidence as a consumer to know that I can buy from him, and I know his standards are high, like really high. So that is where I get my wheat berries. But there, like I said, there's tons of other places to get your wheat berries from. Other reason is because Azure Standard does a monthly drop like they do. If you're unfamiliar, they drop once a month, and we go pick it up at the drop site and things. And there's drop sites all over the United States. It's a great option. If you live out in a rural area, you probably have a drop site near you. But shipping can be really expensive on things like that. But because it's a drop like it is, I don't have to pay per pound shipping like you would if you were having it shipped from another company. So let's talk for a minute about storage. I have all these 50-pound bags of wheat berries. One of the reasons that I really only focus on 4 main types of wheat berries is because the sheer amount of volume of storage. And I don't want to have to figure out where I'm going to cram all this stuff. I want to reasonably be able to stockpile several months worth of wheat berries of each kind in a reasonable amount of space, right? And so that really, I could go crazy and try all sorts of different things, but I want to be reasonable about it. And the corn also I store up on. So the best way that I have found to store it are these 5-gallon buckets, and they have gamma lids, and these are amazing. You pop these on, and it's not like you don't have to pop and pop and pop and pop. They just twist and they come off. And they are rodent proof, they are waterproof, all the things. These are amazing. And I'm working on a stand to put them on. I think my dad is going to help me build that in the coming months, so I'll show you when we get that done. But right now, those sit in the garage, but I don't want to have to lug out to the garage every time I need a wheat berry. So I got these gallon jars, and both of these, I got the buckets, the lids, and the gallon jars on Azure too. I got these beautiful gallon jars, and I put each of the different types in one of these gallon jars, and it sets out on my buffet, and it's really decorative and pretty because they really are pretty. Then when I need a cupful or whatever, I just scoop it out of here, put it in there. When the gallon jars run out, I go out to the garage and then I fill this bag up. That's how I do it. I know a lot of people will do it differently. If you do it differently, I would love to hear how you manage your storage for the wheat berries down in the comments. And I know everybody else would as well. So let's talk grain mills. That's another really big thing that was a hurdle to entry for me. I happened to have a KitchenAid attachment for milling. And I used that initially because when I first started, I wasn't sure if this would be something I would be able to stick with or would stick with or wanted to, or if the health benefits were worth it. Since then, I'm all in. But at first, you don't want to start big, right? You don't want to invest in these things because some of these things, this grain mill was not cheap. It was several $100s. And I don't have that to just drop on something that I'm not going to pick back up and use every day. They make inexpensive hand mills. I recommend going to Sue Becker's store from Bread Becker's. She has several high quality hand crank things, and even if you don't buy from her, you can see the ones that she recommends as the highest quality. The reason that I upgraded from the KitchenAid attachment was twofold. Well, threefold really. First of all, I had to run the grains through twice sometimes if I really wanted a really super fine grain. It would give me that, but also it took forever to grind my grains. And it wasn't a huge deal. I would just pour them in and then I would go do something else and let it grind and let it run through. But if I was going to be serious about really making this a daily part of my life, and I became really serious about making this a daily part of our life for our health, I wanted to make sure that it was feasible to fit into our life. And honestly, there were some days where dragging out the KitchenAid mixer, setting it up, screwing the thing in, finding the wheat berries, dumping them all in, and then sitting for 45 minutes while it milled grain, and then coming back, using that, pulling it out, cleaning it out, putting the KitchenAid mixer away. Like, that was too much. Some days I could do it, and some days it was too much. We homeschool, we have a lot going on the homestead, we have a lot going on just in life, and it was too much. And I knew in my heart of hearts, if that was going to be the case, if every time I did this, I was going to have to pull out all of that stuff, I was not going to stick with this. It was not going to be, there were going to be too many roadblocks to make this really a daily habit. So that is why I upgraded. You do not have to upgrade, and I would recommend you start small unless you absolutely know with 100% certainty that you're all in on this. For Christmas, I was able to upgrade and get this really nice mockmill 200. And I didn't upgrade to the fancy mockmill that's the wooden one, that was just a bridge too far. But this 200, they have a 100 and a 200. And I went ahead and got the 200 because it's twice as fast as the 100 at grinding. And it really is phenomenal. There's low cleaning, low maintenance. In fact, usually this sits over there. I have all my wheat berries lined up. I have my mill next to it, and I have my bread machine next to it, because most days when I'm making our regular loaf of bread, we dump it in the bread machine. And so it's this really quick process. It's been phenomenal. It's been easy. And when I make our daily loaf, within 5 minutes, I can have it in the bread machine ready to go. On days I want to spend a little longer, I can make some of these other things, and or if I want to make the regular loaf by hand, I can. And I can use that time, because some days some days you want to put the extra care and the love into it. But some days you are busy. And if I can do in 5 minutes what used to take me 2 hours, I'm all in. Then I don't have to think about it anymore. It's just done. And I wish I could say, I have an affiliate link with mockmill, so go buy one, but I don't. But even though I'm not an affiliate, I love this thing, and I would highly, highly recommend. If you are wanting to really get something that is going to last you a long time, that is going to be fast, and that's going to do a really amazing job at milling really fine, I highly recommend the mockmill. That being said, there are a ton of grain mills out there. Do your research. There's plenty. But I would recommend go to Sue Becker's site, because she really has a lot of quality ones, and she only recommends quality ones. So even if all you can afford is a hand mill right now, she'll have some listed that are good quality hand mills. I just want to show you how super easy this is. We'll grind a little bit of hard white wheat. You just take the lid off, and I'll just do 1/4 cup or so. And I'm going to turn this on. It's kind of loud, and you pour it in. And just that fast, I have freshly ground, really fine milled flour. So this doesn't have to be this huge, arduous task. So that is a lot of information cram-packed into this one little video. And I really hope that you'll stick with us, because like I said, over the next few weeks, y'all have asked, I am answering. I have put together a bunch of videos that walk you through how to make several staples with freshly milled grain. We've got sourdough coming up. We've got just your regular plain daily loaf, muffins, cookies, and cornbread. And I'm sure we'll continue on over the coming months with lots of recipes. So if you found this informative, if you enjoyed this, please hit that like button. It really does help us out. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you want to be notified when our recipe videos come out. We are so thankful that you're here. Have a wonderful day.